to 24 Main Street. Entertain a motion to open the public hearing. Mr. Carvel, second by Mr. Shays. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Public hearing is open. We have a presentation by our Code Enforcement Officer, Mr. Harvey. It's all yours.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I think the best way to approach this is I came up with a slideshow to show you the board, what we've been dealing with, and give you an option to weigh in and make your decision on how to go forward with this. If anybody can't hear me, please let me know. We're talking about the Massena School of Business Building, 2224 Main Street, downtown Massena. Give you a little bit of history on the code side of things. I went through our records. The first complaint that's in our system was on 11/4/2011. It's a complaint of some broken windows starting. All right, how did I do that? I hit the one button.
You gotta hit the down button.
That's what I had. That's what I did. Text not my thing.
Better sit close.
On the 11/6/2013, the next complaint came in to the building department regarding broken windows again. This time, DPW was requested to board up the broken windows, which they did. On 10/23/2014, the property was written up on multiple issues, this time including vacant structures that must be clean, safe, and secure, high grass and weeds, rodent harboring, broken windows, and premises ID. On 3/15/2016, the property was written up again on multiple issues, including the same as before, vacant structure, high grass, rodent harboring, broken windows, and premises ID. I want to let everybody know too that every time this was written up, a notice was sent to the property owner requesting them to comply. This time, every single time, we've had an out-of-town owner on this property.
Oh.
Go ahead.
Did you have a phone number of the person
No, we
who
do not.
owns it?
No, we did not.
Is it still the person who owns Quality Inn?
Could we get them to get through the presentation?
Sure, and then I'll work on some questions.
Open up to any questions that
Sure.
you'd like. Thank you.
Absolutely. I'll try to answer them as best I can.
What is premises ID?
Identification is literally not having the number on the front of the building. That is actually a New York State code violation. On 8/22/16, the property was written up for the first time under the blight code. Just to let everybody know, blight code was adopted by the village board on 5/5/2015. The blight code, if you do look in the code book, you can also get it online. There's a breakdown. It is a list which gives it a numerical value. Anything over 100 points is considered a blighted property within the village code. On 7/31/2017, the property was written up yet again under the blight code, new ownership, in which the mayor had spoken about last time. When it changes hands, we had to start this game all over again. On 4/4/18, it was written up for the third time, the second time on the current owner. This current owner is way out of town. So what are we looking at today? Per the village code, 105-4 definitions, blighted property, an improved or vacant property which meets or exceeds a point value of 100 points as set forth within this chapter. You can get that right online at the Massena.us website. The first time it was written up, our department gave it 330 points, and we heard crickets from the property owner. As it changed hands, the department decided we're going to try dropping the point value down a little bit just to see if we could get somebody to make some type of communication with our department. So we dropped it down to 185 points just to get the absolute worst case stuff taken care of. We still, to this day, our department has not had any response from the current owner. So currently, the School of Business, 14 boarded up windows in the front. Some glass is still in place that is in the process of breaking or could fall to the ground at any time. Siding on the front is falling apart. Birds have infested the property. Paint is chipping and peeling. First floor facade is pulling apart, peeling, showing signs of water damage. And the signs out front are falling apart. Here you can see siding starting to come apart here. It's getting worse. You can see we've got some water damage here, and the paint in the front is covered in bird droppings. Rotting wood, it's decaying, it's falling apart. Yet again here, this is the siding facade towards the bottom of the building where it makes contact with the sidewalk, snow, rain. You can see it's pulling apart from the building. It's starting to rip apart and tear apart. As you walk into one of the entryways, you can see the light fixtures falling apart, all the paint starting to peel, it's coming down. More paint peeling along some of the trim work. One of the front display windows, I don't know if you can see it or not, it looks like it had some type of an impact at some point. It's all splattered and it's broken. That's a large pane of glass there. Pigeons are living on and in the building. Bird droppings are all over the front of the building. In this picture you can see one of the broken windows, and you can also see the windows chipping, starting to fall apart. Could come down, unfortunately, possibly on somebody. Bird droppings. This is a constant battle for the Department of Public Works. They get this cleaned up. A little bit later on, it's back to this again. They go back, they clean it up. Signs falling apart. You can see this is all decaying and molding here. We're missing some letters from where it used to say School of Business. Potential danger. This is the door that goes up to the second story. It needs to be properly secured. Chief is not here tonight. We have had issues before with people getting in there and being able to see signs of people staying in there temporarily before we've gone in. So, back of the building. This is the part not a lot of people see. You drive by. This is what the back of it looks like. As you can see, weeds and trees are just all overgrown in here. We've got plants growing up over top of it. You can see chunks of broken glass hanging. A little bit better close up. More windows. There we go. Shards of broken glass that are on the ground. If some have fallen, more could potentially fall. This is a downstairs broken window. This is an entrance into the basement that needs to be taken care of. There's two doors coming off the fire escape in the back. They've been broken into multiple times. They've been secured. They've been broken back into again. These need to be properly secured permanently. Our friends the birds again. Piles of brush, just an overall view of the back of this building. Anybody from the board have any questions?
First question is, blighted buildings in this village.
Absolutely.
And I think we gotta start getting on them and fixing it. Just sitting here, you're 2 years, two or 3 years on this. There ought to be some way that we rush things a little bit along.
I think this is a good starting point right here.
This year, we're trying to make Massena beautiful, and we got all these buildings down there. And it's sad, sad place to live in anymore, especially what's going on around here.
Yep,
It's too bad.
absolutely. I think this is a good starting point, right here, right in the middle of downtown. And keep building off of this. We've mitigated a lot of damage throughout the community and other houses, residences.
I think it's important to point out too that there are other houses, there's other businesses in the downtown core that we're dealing with who have agreed to try to do some things to improve their property. In this case, we've had no response. This is a public hearing. We will take public comment or questions. I would ask you to please come and stand at the podium, state your name for the record, please. Public comment.
Hi Artie, my name's Gina Snyder. I had a couple questions for you. Have you, because I'm a business owner and, well, although I've never had a blight issue, but if I got a notice in the mail and it says you're being written up for high weeds and you're getting cited a certain amount, is that what it says for the one violation?
It
And then-
depends on the code violation. Grass and weeds in this community, as the village board approved a few months ago, is a 2-day notice. 2 days if it's not taken care of, it is referred to the mowing company that they've contracted with. They come in, take care of the property, and you get the bill for it.
So on this situation here, with all the code violations and stuff, approximately what is their fine? And did you try calling them?
No, we did not try calling them. I believe the code states that we have to send them the letters.
And then it's still,
And actually, I did try hunting down a phone number for them. I've looked online. I have not been able to gain a phone number for them.
is this the same owner as Quality Inn?
I'm not sure who owns the Quality Inn, but I do not
I
believe
really,
so.
I don't know.
The answer to that is no.
No, okay, you do
No.
know that? Okay.
Okay,
Definitively, it is not.
definitely, this person, when you say they live out of state or out of the area, we're talking out of the country?
Not quite out of the country, but about halfway across the country.
Where, do you know where?
Ohio.
Ohio.
It was purchased off the county auction for delinquent taxes.
Can you release how much it was purchased for, or do you know how much they bought it for? I mean, this looks like a
I
lot
don't
of
know the
work.
answer to that. I don't know how much they.
I do not know either.
Okay.
I'm sure you could look that up, though. If you looked up the county records somehow, I'm sure you could probably find that.
Further public comment? Seeing none, entertain a motion to close the public hearing. So moved. Mr. Offel, second by Mr. Carvel. Discussion. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Public hearing is closed.
I'll make a resolution to declare 22 to 24 Main Street property a nuisance and authorize abatement procedures to begin. Second.
Motion by Mr. Offel, second by Mr. Carvel. Discussion.
I think we should do everything we can to get the thing looking better and safer for the public. I have a brother that lives out in California. He only comes home a couple times, maybe every 2 years or so. He happened to be home last month. And he was telling me that since he doesn't see Massena that often, he's noticed that their downtown is starting to pick up, starting to look better. It's on the right track. So I think this is something we have to move forward with, to keep on going, keep on improving the downtown. So whatever we can do here, whatever's gotta be done, let's do it.
Further public comment? Resolution polled individually. Mr. Offel?
Aye.
Mr. Carvel? Aye. Mr. Deshays? Resolution carries. Thank you, Mr. Hardy. Reports of officers, treasurer's report. Mr. Feld?
Hello, everyone. In your bins, I had put the preliminary updated numbers for May. So if you haven't looked those up, you can go ahead and take a look at those to see where we're at as of now. Still in the process of closing the books, obviously. We're all pretty much collected and most of the entries are done for booking expenses and revenues. The only thing that's not in there, that's why you see there's kind of a big discrepancy, is the sales tax, which is not included yet. That'll be coming 1st of August. So once I get that, I'll get that accrued. Working on the year-end adjustments, the annual update documents, it's called the AED. I've got that pretty much done for the Joint Recreation Department. It's due the end of July, so I've got it done. Now I'm just kind of reviewing it, make sure it's accurate. We're plugging away with the tax collection. As of last Thursday, things are kind of dwindling down a little bit, so it's not, we're not taking in as large amounts as we were. We're at about 81% collected of the warrant. And July 12th, I received the final invoice from Slick for the broadband grant that began in September 2015, so this should wrap it up here in the next 3 months. I'll do the final report and get that closed out. Any questions?
Questions for Mr. Falk? Thank you. Committee reports, code enforcement, Mr. Carvel.
We just had the one item there that's
Economic development, Mr. Alfeld.
Nothing to report.
Fire committee, Mr. Carvel.
We did meet the end of last month. If anything comes up, we'll be meeting last month.
Personnel committee, Mr. Alfeld, Mr. Shays.
We've got one appointment, we had some interviews, and we've got an appointment to discuss the new business.
Police committee, Mr. Carl, Mr. Shays.
Nothing to report at this time.
Recreation, Mr. Carl, Mr. Shays.
Everything's going full speed ahead, softball, and they have, they call it 3-on-3, street hockey. It's on Mondays now. It used to be on Sunday, but they're having it on Monday now, and it's a tournament they have. It's a good program, very successful. They had 12 to 16 teams last year. We started off right off the bat with 30 people, started right up kids. All the employees that work back in the summer program at the beach. And what they do on Wednesdays, it's a free lunch. And any kids go to the playground, and it's provided for different merchants around town. And any member of the board member wants to go, it's free. I've been there myself. It's very good. Let's see what else we got. They're talking about putting a bunch of gardens over in the old playground on Danford Place. They wanted to put a bunch of squares, garden beds. They want maybe they're going 4 by 8, 10 feet long. And they're looking into it. There's a bunch of people looking into it, trying to get people involved in Massena and stuff like that. I guess that's it I got for now. But just a notation, every July, the village board meeting meets at 9 o'clock in the morning at the town beach. So it's an annual thing that's been going on. That's it.
Street committee, Mr. Alfeld.
Nothing to report.
Street work's going crazy right now.
Yes.
So. Water and sewer committee, Mr. Alfeld.
Nothing to report.
Initial public comment period. As always, we ask you to please come to the podium, state your name for the record. Initial public comment.
Mayor, if you'll excuse me, I'm not going to make my way to the podium. I think you should be able to hear me
Yes, sir.
okay. My apologies to the media. I'm here with one of my neighbors, Patricia O'Brien.
Yes.
I live at 105 West Hatfield Street. Mrs. O'Brien's address is
112?
112. There is a property at 113 that is a house that the couple that owned it that moved away. I think they now lease it. The problem we're having is that the person who lives there now is apparently running a business out of this house. It's been going on this is the second year I think we're into now. I don't see it as much as Mrs. O'Brien sees it. She can probably tell you more firsthand of what we experienced, but in the morning, vehicles show up, work is done in those vehicles, then in the afternoon, they're parked out in the street, and somebody comes and picks up the vehicles and takes them on their way. Cars, boats, motorcycles, four-wheelers, a little bit of everything. The code doesn't allow for that in our neighborhood, obviously. We are not zoned for that. We all have invested in our properties and trying to keep them nice, and we pay a lot of taxes, quite honestly. And we think, at least I feel, I'm not going to speak for Mrs. O'Brien, that for being a resident of the village and paying those taxes, there should be some protection of the code. We're talking tonight about code enforcement exactly. And this continues to be a problem. The backyard has got a whole bunch of stuff in it. Don't know if that follows code or not. I mean, there's small engine vehicles, there's some, I don't know what else there, but, so anyway, I just like that, we've talked to code enforcement. They've apparently been monitoring the situation. Mrs. O'Brien's much more better about it than I am, so what can?
Yes, my front door lines up with his driveway. I live right across the street. I have a half glass in my front door. Sometimes at 10:15, 10:30 at night, a truck will drive up with a trailer. They'll pick up a riding lawnmower. The other day, I think a dryer backed in on a truck, and he come out and takes the back off and couldn't fix it right. This is constant traffic, anything with a motor, any time of the day and night. And Mr. Chapman goes out at night and picks stuff up in the darkness and comes back with it as well. I'm awake till after the 11 o'clock news at night. I know at night traffic.
We
So-
appreciate you coming forward. We're aware of this.
Okay.
We've had meetings, the chief and the code enforcement officer on it. I know they've been working on it. It's been a little bit challenged dealing with the situation, but we appreciate you coming. We're certainly going to work harder on it. We recognize the discomfort and issues that you face with it. And so it looks like we have two issues, that, and it looks like there may be some code violations with other stuff, so we'll look at the condition of the property as well as the illegal business.
May I ask a question? Do you have to catch the man in the act of actually doing repair? Is that what the code calls for?
The legal requirement for a code violation would be able to prove the case, beyond a reasonable doubt. So to issue an appearance ticket for violating the code, we have to have some proof.
Well,
legitimate
if
proof.
there's only one person working, he can't leave his job. So how else are you going to enforce code?
I would prefer not to disclose how we're going to try to catch them.
Good, as long as you got a good plan.
But it's a very valid question.
Good, as long as you got a good plan, that's all that's important, that you can enforce something.
Sure.
I can call all season long, and I have for 2 years, being right across the street. Yes. Well, thank you.
Understood. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Further public comment? Seeing none, moving on. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
My name is Gina Snyder, and I was wondering, do you know who owns the signs entering Massena, the ones with all the clubs on them?
I don't. That's in the
Is
township.
it a village thing or a town thing?
Town.
It's the town, so you don't know.
Ours
I
is
didn't know
house
if it
signs.
was entering right at the village, if it was right there, or if it was, okay. So you don't know either. Okay. And,
I will tell you that that discussion has come up regarding those signs in the Moving Massena Forward Coalition.
Yep.
So there's discussion on it. We haven't taken any action yet, but it's something we're aware of, the condition of them.
Right, and we have to figure out who owns them before we take them down. I didn't know if you knew them on your end. And I also was wondering if you had a set date, for discussion with the town for consolidation.
We received word from the Department of State that our application for the grant is under consideration. They anticipate responding to us by the end of this month, July. So if that's the case and we're awarded, then we would be going to both boards to authorize going out to bids to hire a firm to conduct the study.
Will there be another open public meeting to discuss anything from now till then, or when you get approval, or after the study, or?
I think, are you asking will there be public input into the process?
Right.
It's a very public process.
Okay.
Yeah, there will be stakeholder meetings, there will be public hearings, there will be public information gathering meetings. It's a very public process. It's not a private process. It's not a secret process.
Right.
The public's input is not only encouraged, but kind of expected in the process.
So, and another, at the end of the month or so, the public will be able to hear a little bit about some meetings coming up or anything about it, or maybe a month
Well,
after, maybe August?
I would hesitate to give a timeline I want to be held to, but in
Right.
theory, once we're notified by the Department of State that the grant has been approved, both boards would have to pass resolutions authorizing us to go out to bid, because I don't think that was in the original resolution, or was it?
I don't think so.
We're not sure, but typically, we would then have to they would have to authorize us to go out to bid, which means we put a request for proposals out. Firms would then give us a proposal. The two boards would approve the firm that would get hired to conduct the study. They would then set the timeline, set the meetings, all those types of things, the firm that's overseeing it.
Do you know about how much that it's gonna cost to do, to hire that firm to come and do the study for Massena?
I don't.
Is it the same thing that Potsdam did?
I don't know what Potsdam did.
Because I heard, right, I don't know if I heard it incorrectly, but they're encouraged by the state to consolidate village and town. Potsdam?
I can't speak to Potsdam.
Financial crises, so I believe that the comptroller or something did a study there and gave them some recommendations. I don't know if they have to really follow them or not, but they gave them some recommendations of things they could do. If I'm not mistaken, that's what that was about.
So it's not the same thing, like we're gonna go out for, they didn't do the same study or the,
I can't speak to what Potsdam did. I can speak to what our study is. Ours is intended to be a comprehensive study to look at all options, which could be dissolution of the village, could be some form of consolidation, could be some form of consolidation of services. And from my perspective, it is, let's study it conclusively, and then they would make a recommendation to the boards. And unless there's some glaring problem with the study, which I don't anticipate, I would certainly support the findings and try to do that. I support the local reorganization of governments. I think we have too much government.
is there another town in the area that has done the same study we're thinking about doing? Is there close to us anywhere? How did you hear about it?
The closest one that I'm aware of that's conducted, but which was recently, was Morristown. Right? They just actually voted to dissolve their village.
They dissolved.
Yeah.
And would you be willing to contact Morristown and find out what console or the study costs them, so we had an idea, because we would have to pay for that, right, for that study? Or will New York State pay half town quarter and village quarter of that
That's
study?
correct. That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
Okay. Was Tom Sullivan replaced yet, and was that person rehired going to be marketing Massena?
We met last Thursday with the the Development Corporation's representatives from the village and town. At their meeting, the job description, the duties, and the mission of the Business Development Corporation will change drastically to a community development model with economic development as a secondary piece of their responsibilities. How that proceeds is currently left with the Business Development Corporation. The Business Development Corporation will be kept in place in its current structure because it's a local development corporation, and there are big advantages to keeping the local development corporation in place.
Are they going to be coming up with a way to market Massena?
We would
This
assume that
person we're hiring, are they have marketing in there?
it'll be a collaborative effort, right, with moving forward the town, the village, the Business Development Corporation, yes. The Chamber of Commerce, collaborative effort.
On the prior blighted property notes, I'm a little confused and I apologize, but will we be fixing this property and then putting that on their tax bill, since we know that they pay their tax bill already? Is that what we're doing?
We will, it's not quite that way. We will cost to have the work done, we will bill them. If they fail to pay it, we'll re-levy it on their taxes, or put a lien on the property. And that's the stipulations that are provided for in the local code.
In the prior years, have you asked your village tax department who collects the money to keep their eye out for this check coming in, to see if you can get a phone number off it, to contact them, or an address?
No.
I think any correspondence is sent registered mail.
Yes,
It is.
I was going to say that, yes, it is,
So-
and they
So
did
they
sign, they
did
have
There's no
signed.
doubt about the fact
They
that
received
the
it.
gentleman in Ohio,
Yeah,
They received
or
it.
the woman in Ohio got the mail and knows what's going on. They're choosing to ignore us. This is like our last ditch effort.
Okay, okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Further public comment?
I'm Sylvia Brower. I live on North Allen. Can't believe that you, after what we went through with the recycling on the 4th of July, a year or two ago, that you've turned around and done the same thing about all the yard waste. We have lots of yard waste in the summer. And you're asking us to, you didn't educate us. You didn't educate us at all. I happen to see it in the paper, but I still put my trash out. Still put my garden things out. We had a big branch fall off the tree, excuse me, with one of the windstorms. Trash wasn't picked up that day. Oh, get a notice. Can't do that. So I have to drag it all the way to the back of my property, where I, excuse me, where I have my compost, my grass, my leaves. And now it has to sit there until you decide in September, is it, that we're going to have to pick up again?
That's correct.
Well, you know, there was a big hullabaloo over the recycling. And you've done the same thing again. We had 4th of July. Nobody was really told or taught what to do, where to take the big branches and all this. And I talked with you, I talked with Herb, and I talked with you, and I talked with, Haas. And told you about it. Why are you doing these things and not educating the people? And I have another problem. Next door to me, about a week and a half ago, when we'd had no rain, there was a huge bonfire. It was huge. I was nervous about it. I called. Oh, there's a fire ban. These young people, they don't pay any attention. Both sides of me. Young people. And they keep having their bonfires. They're open. I understood that the fires had to be like your gas grill. But these were open. And the sparks were very tall. They were as tall as the garage next door. And it worries me. I mean, I have a big house, and I don't want to lose it. It's part of my retirement, because I rent the upstairs. So I really, really hope that you people will come up with some kind of education program, whether it's sending a letter outlining where we're supposed to take this, our garden waste, and about the fires. You can't expect people, not everybody gets the newspaper, and not everybody listens to WMSA or YDG. And everybody has a computer and goes online. So I'd like to know how much longer we're gonna have to do this. Why not educate people? Instead of just throwing these things out, and stop and think about it. You put this in place, when we had a big, class of 1988, they had a big reunion this weekend. What a mess to look around our village streets and see these piles. There's at least 6 on North Allen and Allen. People have had trees cut and trimmed. It looks terrible. It's all dead now. They're all dead things. But it's time people looked ahead a little bit and thought, okay, what we're doing now, how's it going to affect the village in a few weeks or a month? I'm just disgusted. It just seems like you go willy-nilly doing anything that comes across your mind. And where are we to put this stuff? Where do I take it? I don't have a truck. I have a car. That's all I have. And I pay my taxes. So you're gonna have to come up with something else, some other way. And I've spoken with you too about it. And I've also asked that you go around through the village and watch for the potholes. And I called about my street, you come off Andrew Street onto North Allen. There's a big ditch almost, because when they paved Andrew Street, they didn't smooth it nicely at all. And we are on the downside, downslope. So I've asked when you have patching done, come and take care of that for us. I just think you people you're not thinking ahead at all. You're just thinking about, well, we gotta do this, we gotta save money. Let's see how we find another way to save money instead of taking it out on the backs of the little people, especially those of us who are retired on fixed incomes. I don't know who to call. Get a truck, we come and pick up all that stuff. The whole street needs to be picked up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Further public
Along
comment?
those lines, if there's a storm, that poses a significant issue, then we will go ahead and pick it up. I think that the way that the law was written, or rewritten, was just to curb back the pickup of brush from, don't hold my feet to the fire here, from about Memorial Day till Labor Day, I think is about where it stands, right?
Right.
But if there was a storm that swept through and actually wiped down a street, then we would be out cutting, picking, and doing whatever it was necessary to pick it up. Now, she made a good point about the bonfire in July. We've got laws against that should not be happening. We no open fire pits. I mean, this can got kicked down the road a long time. And did you hear anything?
We encourage,
Not to put your.
no,
not
we
to put you on
we
the spot.
encourage anybody that calls, if they see one, call 911.
Okay.
Call and we come in, we put the fire out, and if it's a repeat offender, tickets are issued.
Okay. Were you aware of that, ma'am?
Yeah, call 911 when you see those things. I know a lot of people look at them and go, it's kind of scary, but I don't think it requires a call to 911. No, call 911 if you see that. It gives a much better response.
I called the police department.
Okay, yeah, just go ahead and dial the 911. They will dispatch us, we will go put it out, and if it happens again, then we get tickets involved.
The girl said they'd have somebody come there. I don't know if anybody did, if any
Okay.
police came or not, but it went out. But
Thanks, Harry.
Yeah.
Yep, that's all I've got.
You're not picking up the brush until the fall?
I'm sorry?
The brush that is, like I put mine out, they didn't take it. So I took it over to the springs over across the railroad tracks. So when are they gonna pick up the brush again?
September 1.
September 1?
It looks terrible. Looks so terrible. Can we send a truck around just to pick up the stuff out there right now? Because I think the word just got out there, you know, I just kind of heard about it, you know, when I saw it all piled up on Walnut Street, you know, there was 2 piles there, so I didn't know if we could just send a truck around, just pick up what's there now, and then, I don't know, it's gonna sit there, the grass is all gonna die, it's all dead now, but it is dead on the edges of all the roads.
Tom Chicken, I have a question on all this, I've been listening to this, I go to quite a few meetings. In defense of this board, I would like to say that this board had public meetings about brush pickup, and I believe it was a public hearing that they had when they were changing the code. Unfortunately, the citizens don't come to the meetings. If more people would come to the meetings, they would hear these things. Now, in saying that, is there any possible way, when you have something big like this that you've done, you've changed the code, you will not pick it up till that certain time? And I know you're gonna say this takes a lot of work, but is there something you can slide in the bills to, like your garbage? The residents for the garbage saying, we've changed this. Your dates now will be, you know, from September on, okay? This way here, if people, like they say, people don't get the paper. A lot of people don't get the paper anymore. If you don't have a computer, you don't get it on. You only listen to, I think the only radio station that we have around that really gives the news good is WMSA, maybe some of the other ones, I don't know. But I think that would be so much easier just to write out something, say, this is changed now, no brush pickup in the village of Massena until September, or it ends in June. I don't see why that would be hard for them to stick something in unless they do it automatically with the bills. Is that something that could be possibly looked at?
We'll look at it. Thank you. Further public comment? Seeing none, moving on. Discussion, downtown core renovation guidelines and the downtown overlay district.
I don't have any further comment on it. I think it's, this is, the good thing about this is people can hold it in their hand or look at it online and say, they can't say, I didn't know that, or I didn't know what the requirements were. A lot of work went into it, and I think it's I think you guys did a great job.
Yeah.
Sure.
Sure.
Okay, so I'll kind of I'll highlight this a little bit. So first is the background. So there's been a lot of discussion for several years on this, but primarily the foundation for these proposals came out of the 2012 proposal that was developed by Insight Architects and the Massena Downtown Coalition, which was essentially overseen by the Business Development Corporation. And more recently, we looked at the document, which was myself, Trustee Levere, a business owner in the downtown area, the code enforcement officer, a member of our planning commission, and the director of the BDC went through it, kind of looked at it and said, that doesn't make sense. We think this does, in hopes of putting together a document that would meet people's approval, but we're going into this completely wide open to look for public input. So why are these needed? Obviously, we're looking